Vanakkam. So we will start our engineering seismology lectures. We will continue. So we have been discussing about the prediction of the earthquake. So we have discussed about the saying that it is not possible predict very accurately earthquake, but still we have been discussed 9 way of predicting the earthquake, and also we see it depends upon the time how we predict. Okay, so it's like the short term, long term, and then medium time prediction. So generally the short term prediction is within a day. Okay, within a day, if it is predicted 24 hours or 48 hours kind of things, in our basis prediction is the short term prediction. So maybe up to a month we can say short term prediction. A month to year is basically medium time prediction. So before several years basically a long term prediction. So even though the scientific basis of the earthquake, okay, so somewhere represented in the earthquake prediction, that is a good way of predicting the earthquake. So there are non-scientific relation with the earthquake activity which may not be the so much attractive. I told that astrology based prediction, okay, so the planet position based prediction, even though the theory may be strong on that, okay, mathematics theory may be strong, but the relation with the earthquake, what happens, okay, it's not very clearly explained on those methods. But what we discussed 9 approaches, basically all of them basically the related with the earthquake. So we have started with the unusual animal behavior, okay, where that so as we have seen that so the animal has a extra sensing capacity than a human, so which is capable of predicting the nature, okay, so behavior of the earth, so which usually moves away from the epicenter. So most of the animal who lives on the places where there is going to be a epicenter, or there is going to be a dangerous going to come due to the tsunami or something like that, okay. So this animal sense that and move from that particular area to the safer area, okay. So that is how the animal behavior has been used, unusual animal behavior has been used to predict earthquake. We have seen that so 1975 7.3 magnitude successfully predicted in the China, which was the first and scientific evidence where the earthquake has been predicted. But even though there are a lot of people reported that unusual animal behavior in the earthquake, but scientifically proved and predicted with that. But there we also noticed that it is not only the animal behavior, it is also the hydraulic hydrochemical pressure and water table rise. So these are all the parameters also basically helped to predict the earthquake, okay. So that was maybe the success case. So then we have seen like a rise in the temperature, water level, random gases, oil well. So all those parameters, if you look at all of them basically, so all these things basically related with the what happens with the crust of the rock when moves. So when both the rock, okay, it's going to break, okay, so then so whatever happening here, which in the form of borehole and then the temperature, so all those phenomena is somewhere related to the mechanism physics of the earthquake. So that is maybe the reason that when you have 2-3 sequential event at the same place, there is a success rate of earthquake being so increases. But the problem is that so these are all the technique like oil well, random gas, water level, temperature, hydrochemical changes. It's not going to give you the size of the earthquake. So that is one of the issue. Maybe the place of the earthquake we can know, and maybe you can predict in the short term range all of them, because it is as a like a week or 2 days or few hours can help, but the size of the earthquake is not possible. But at least animal behavior, they told that the animals are going to behave unusual, very unusual way close to the earthquake period, okay. So that was the observation it is made. So linking up this, at least some extent we can predict a earthquake. That is what we discussed. So even though it is not well practiced and no earthquake has been successfully predicted, so after China earthquake, very few earthquakes have been predicted. So but this theories, if somebody adopt very well, okay, it can be predicted. So the another one where if you have the recorded data, okay, the recorded data means the waveform, okay, the history of the earthquake. okay, so how many years, what big earthquake happened in that. So those kind of data will help the theory of seismic gap, foreshock and changes in the seismic wave velocity, okay, so like Vp and Vs ratio, pattern changes. So these things are possible by using the instrumented record. So the overall all this method basically scientifically prove, okay, these are all successful method if you combine them very effectively, and this one. So as on India, as per my knowledge, many people report these are all the signature or whatever unusual way, whatever observation they made after the earthquake. As on now, there is no earthquake in India has been predicted using this technology. So those who are auditing this course or taking the course willing to work on this area, provided if you have the access to the data and some way where you can have the control over the local places. So I can help basically to get this done success, okay, for part of your study or part of your research project. So anyway I can help extending that. For example, if you want to predict the earthquake at Uttarakhand, okay, so you are living at the place. So you should have first the recording data access to you. You should have the recorded acceleration time history continuously. Whenever we want, we should have the access. That if you have. And second, you have the control over local area. Control over means, for example, you should have the, if I tell you that go and install a digital well monitoring sensors, so you should be able to install and get your data yourself without any intervention. So you should have some kind of administration control as well as the people support and monitoring animal behavior. So these are all things if you do in the active regions like the place, there may be success rate that we can predict relatively, at least for few hours before the earthquake. It will reduce human casualties, okay, that is a very important. So reduction of the human casualty is a prime importance for any of the planning and modeling, and then controlled way of approaching that this one. So that is what you are seeing. Even the COVID-19, okay, so as on today there was a lot of precautionary steps has been taken by the government basically to monitor who has that virus, make them isolated from the mass so that it does not spread well, and then give them enough medicine, okay, and then the treatment so that they overcome. So these are all the way one can control the at least casualties, okay. So that is a very prime important. So that way by doing this kind of studies one can help to minimize the human loss due to the any future earthquake, particularly active regions like a plate boundary where there is a suspicious about the seismic gap and very big due earthquake in those regions, like you said that western seismic gap, central seismic gap, eastern seismic gap, those region, at least those who are interested to involve on that, I will be happy to support and extend all my knowledge as well as the team and the equipments what I have. As I told you that I have the dedicated seismometer which can record a earthquake, okay. So we have the technology to measure the dynamic properties of the medium, okay. So where the downhole survey, uphole survey, and then MSW seismic survey, GPR to monitor there is any variation in the surface material movement, okay, like the fractures are happening, basically you get change in the dielectric property of the material, which I can monitor using the ground penetrating radar, then electrical resistivity tomography. So these are all the survey if we do frequently at one location, you can able to sense what happens in the dielectric properties of the medium, electromagnetic wave changes. So all those things can be put together in some way where we can get up a better prediction, which will also help you to develop a future kind of technology or streamlined methodology where it will be monitored, okay. So that way it will help. So I will be happy to extend my support to whoever if interested with financial support and necessary administrative support both. I can only provide the facilities, okay, and then guidance, not the finance support and then local administrative. I do not have any power on those kind of things, but these things at least will help to overcome that. So even if you predict the earthquake, as I told you that knowing earthquake location, okay, so the size, okay, and then the may not be sufficient to prevent a damage, because for that you should know how much, okay, so damage is expected. So that is also very another level of importance, but we have done extensive research on that. So, if somebody able to predict valid prediction, okay, the date and time of the earthquake, okay, the place of occurrence, magnitude, okay, so then using this data, okay, based on our experience and research what I do, actually I can get a acceleration time history of the data, okay, synthetically, as I told you that we do. So, any earthquake I can get anywhere in India. We have been equipped for doing that kind of thing. So, once I get this, okay, then I will be able to say that which are the area will affect more, which are the area will affect less, because we have been working on intensity predictive equations and models, ground motion predictive equations and models, which we will be discussing in the detail future classes, but just I am telling you. So, which will help you to identify what type of damage level, okay, 50%, 60%, whatever damage level you can expect, and what is the acceleration you can expect. So, based on that one can go for the next level up using that prediction effectively to prevent. Not only prediction will help, because even if you say that this is the earthquake going to come, if there is no proper planning and then estimation, is the useless data. Okay. So, but since I have do research on this area, work extensively, so I can support those knowledges to get all the information. Okay. So, if time permits, I will also discuss one of the recent year work what we are doing with respect to the future earthquake. So, what we have taken basically Himalayan region. Okay. So, we have identified about 16 seismic gap. Okay, 16 seismic gap where the seismologists and geologists believe that there may be chances of some earthquake in this region in the future. So, what we did actually this 16 location, okay, so this 16 location, so what we did actually, so we estimated a probable magnitude using the regional rupture character, which I developed, we will be discussing that regional rupture character of the this one, and estimated each location what is the M max possible. So, using this M max we estimated, we simulated gridded pattern a acceleration time history at each location at a depth of bedrock Indo-Gangetic Basin 270 location we created, 16 into 270 earthquake has been created at each location. Then using the dynamic properties what we measured using the MSW and other, we estimated what is the expected PGA value at surface, what is the amplification. So, that the future design people can consider this and design. So, by the time if I get the acceptance of the manuscript, I will give you some glimpse of about this study, which was one of the good study which will help basically to future hazard will be considered in the present. So, like that those kind of technologies, okay, developments are available with us. So, as I told you that the earthquake prediction, how it will help. Okay. So, sometime the wrong prediction will create a unnecessary disturbance and impact in the society, which will be more than the impact caused by the earthquake itself. So, what are those problems? Those problems called as a socio-economic impact and adjustment on a earthquake prediction. So, if the earthquake predictions are not done properly, and also if done even properly with a different time period, what is the socio-economic impact? So, that is one of the main concern. Many scientists believe that prediction of earthquake will almost create a lot of other trouble. In that case, not predicting itself good. That is what they believe, group of scientists. So, the socio-economic consequences of earthquake forecast are subject of some controversy, yet the seismological research continues. Number of earthquake warning from diverse source will be probably continue to be issued at various countries. For example, number of forewarning have been issued in the China after successful prediction of those earthquakes 1975. Some countries studies on unfavorable as well as propitious consequence of the prediction have been made. For example, if the time of large demanding earthquake in California were accurately predicted a year or ahead of time, the continuously updated casualties and even property damage directly resulting from the earthquake might be much reduced. But at the same time, the community's wider region might suffer social disruption and decline the local economy. Okay, so that what happens, that is what we are going to discuss in detail. For example, if after the scientific prediction of the official warning and massive public demand of the earthquake insurance, okay, so earthquake insurance cuts its availability and then temporary but drastic effect of property values, real estate sale, construction, investment and employment, and then all the will affect. So basically somebody predict 1 year or 2 years before saying that a big earthquake going to happen in the Bangalore. Then what happens? The company who is working in the Bangalore, they try to move away from Bangalore. For example, software companies, which is the one of the main income for the government. So if they will be shifting to Mysore or some other place where they are more convenient. Okay, so in that case, so if once the software company moves, people will lose their job who is locally engaged in the job. That is the one thing. Second, government loses its income, tax and grant due to that. So the software people moves, then the associated problems. Okay, so the person who is selling to them vegetable and all the groceries, all those people get, chain of people will get affected. Okay, so not only that. Okay, so then the next is, these people mostly buy apartments and stay, and then so they what they will do. So basically these people, like there are about lakh and 2 lakh 3 lakh people are moving together. So then they will sell their houses, the real estate value will reduce. Okay, demand for insurance will increase. People, all of them want to insure their house because something happens, they will get some compensation. So the demand for the insurance will get, the real estate business will cut. Then since there is no real estate buyer and all, construction will affect. Okay, so then the employment, okay, unemployment, all those things will be created because there is a mass moving of this company. I am giving you a bit of scenario. So this even you can experience people because of this lockdown. You might have seen that many cities, okay, so many cities, many people are jobless because the company has to pay without job. That is what government says during the lockdown. So how the company will pay when the company is running with some income from the outsourced work? So if the nobody is giving them job, how they pay to the employee? Then the employee losing the job. So the employee is not getting the job. So how he will spend money? If you don't spend your money, how economical will grow? So basically the people who are small scale business, they are all affected very widely. That is why government, after some time, even there is an increase in the rise of COVID-19 cases. In order to stabilize the economy, they try to open up and say that people be safe and try to yourself isolate and make things happen, sir, no spreading is happening. So that is the way this one. So this is at least where it's only disease, okay, it doesn't create any this one. But this kind of earthquake kind of things, it affects the entire big area when compared to other area. For example, if the Bangalore is predicted, people easily move to Chennai. Now it is not possible because everywhere the same scenario. So in the earthquake it is possible they move to Mysore, they move to Chennai, they move to Hyderabad. So where the one place the demand will increase, another place the supply will suffer. So all those things is a sequential event which is a socio-economic impact of the prediction of the long-term earthquake. Okay, sometime this impact, okay, the loss due to this, okay, will be much more than the actual earthquake which is even occurred in the same place. So that was a scientific argument that some of the scientists believe that this will. So but it would be economic and social impact of the prediction over a coming year. So if it is likely that large number of people would move away from business, would shut down, the economic would probably go free fall, the economic and social cost of the, so new town would, so basically people when move to other place, again there the land cost will increase, okay, living cost of the people will increase. So such kind of things will again affect that region also. Okay, so there people may be like getting some vegetables at X rupees, because of this new people move there. So then the X become a 2X, 3X. Okay, so that is what you have seen. Even COVID time when the lockdown was announced without proper intimation, so many of the groceries and vegetable shop raised. So same thing will happen when people migrate from one place to other place, all those things problems will come. So this is also made as per worse than one consider that the prediction cannot be 100%. When the prediction is not 100% reliable, okay, this kind of scenarios are make more and worse. In case after happening all these things, the earthquake doesn't happen, then it's a very problematic, because the people moved, they cannot resettle, all those things. So this kind of problems are scientists thinking that, okay, so should not end up by prediction wrong things. So unless otherwise there is a sure and reliable, then only the earthquake prediction should be informed. Okay. So the unnecessary economic and social functioning, okay, of the world and Newton will be reduced considerably. This kind of steps are taken. So if the economic and social impact are very long, okay, so long term prediction are problematic. So what about the short term prediction? So say a prediction is made, same earthquake strike in Newton in 24 hours now. For example, Bangalore, I predict that before tomorrow evening there is a big earthquake going to happen. So then what will it will do that basically? So then the people, okay, so if it doesn't have the proper preparedness, okay, they try to move, okay, they try to escape as a mass. So that will create a traffic congestion and then stamping and then a lot of other issues. Okay, and then since people know that if something happens, I will be losing this, that, everything, they also do involve in the criminal activities. Maybe now you might have seen that there are a lot of the WhatsApp and YouTube videos where because of this COVID lockdown, okay, so people, even a rich people trying to steal, break a shop and try to get whatever they want. So these are all the this kind of pandemic and epidemic activities will. So similarly, this kind of short term prediction will lead, okay, to the different problem. So in the practical problem lies again uncertainty prediction. Let us say that the prediction was perfectly correct in terms of time and magnitude, but it was some distance away. Okay, so if the 100% predictions are not achieved, okay, there is a problem. The short term prediction also putting pressure on that. For example, hospitals may not be made ready because 24 hours nothing you can do, as you know that the system of working and all those things. So then even if you prepared, you cannot avoid the damage. Only you can do small things, okay, like you can close the schools, okay, so where, but still people in the house also safe or not, we don't know. Okay, the mass gathering can be prevented. So those are all the some of the steps which help on the short term prediction to overcome all those things, but the error in the prediction with respect to location, because as we know that the earthquakes are going to affect starting from the epicenter area about a few kilometers to the 750 kilometers. So somebody predict with the error of 100 or 200 kilometers with geological scales is nothing, because if you put India in the whole world map, so if you mark some dot, so that will represent several tens of kilometers. So if there is a error in such kind of kilometer, so okay, so then it will, for example, you say that this location earthquake going to come, it is happening at 200 kilometer away from that area. So these people may be prepared, but those people may be relaxed, they will die more. Okay, those kind of consequences also dangerous when you don't have the 100% prediction possibilities. Okay. So these are all the aspects we are talking about the socio-economic issues with respect to prediction of the earthquake, particularly when there is not possible to predict 100%. Okay. Let us say that the earthquake location magnitude was exactly right, but it happened 3 days after the prediction. What happens if the time prediction is wrong? One, we have seen that the distance prediction, next is the time prediction. So you say that tomorrow, I said that next 24 hours before, but unfortunately it happened that because of the geological the age and calculation problem, but then people, oh, it does not going to happen, why we should worry too much. Then after 2 days the same earthquake happened, many people will die than they expected, because these people will be now relaxed, they do not even believe second time tsunami that warning system has been issued or kind of things. Okay, this is in fact true. So soon after Sumatra tsunami, government set up a warning system, and then they also try to announce. Okay, so what happened, but as the tsunami is only going to happen when the vertical displacement. There are earthquake in the sea, but it does not have the vertical displacement, it is only horizontal. So but the government, since the earthquake is there, soon after that they start issuing the tsunami warning. There are many false tsunami warning system has been issued by the government. Okay, so these are all the things which is problematic. People, even if you issue sometime the right information, because of several false, this they do not follow a right one. Okay, these are all the some of the social behavior impact on this earthquake, wrong prediction. Okay. So the mechanics of the earthquake makes prediction them more even problematic. First, if the common imagine that the earthquake is similar to the bomb being detonated at a point underground with the energy waves traveling away from the point, actual mechanism are rather different. So in fact, the earthquake occurs as a result of two blocks moving past each other in a fault, a underground surface. The energy wave being radiated from the earth point is the surface. The earthquake typically starts with the rupture event that starts slippage, which even spread along the fault over a period typically few minutes. So the phenomena, okay, the mechanism happens in the earthquake. Sometime what happen, if you predict a earthquake at a point and say that around this 100 kilometer will affect, but sometime it affects on only one direction of the earthquake. For example, it depends upon the fault orientation. Other direction, even though it may be closer to the epicenter, it may not experience any problem. So when you have the urban settlement, okay, so Delhi kind of regions, okay, the earthquakes are occurring at one place, but it is going to damage severely one place, another place not damaging, then this can create a lot of problem with the people. Okay, so a lot of the management issues and handling of, so all those things are the common, because the people who are not faced this kind of hazard will be this one. So it is necessary, okay, to predict well the earthquake. One is that even if the not only prediction, that prediction how it going to cause a damage, okay, how it going to, that area going to behave, how the wave propagation that area going to happen because of that earthquake. So if you want to model these aspects well before and then predict the earthquake and link both of them and adopt the warning system or precautionary measures, that will be more efficient way. Okay. So as we have seen that, okay, the earthquakes are occur anywhere on the fault. Okay. So then, okay, so this earthquake, so anywhere in the fault it occurs, okay, then the waves get radiated. So depends upon the location, okay, as we have seen in the wave propagation theory, you get one place, okay, so less amplification, okay, so this one, so here a more amplification. So like that depends upon the place to place, these waves are keep changing. So you should know, you should understand this well advanced, then only your prediction data you can use effectively to prevent a loss to the human loss or also this one. So for example, so the rock region, the damage will be completely different, a basin region, the damage will be completely different. So this is the 2D modeling of particular basin, which is almost similar to our Indo-Gangetic kind of things, where a thick deposit, in that the earthquake happens, you can see the different point of the waveform. Okay, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each location you will have the different waveform. So depends upon, as you know that the wave amplitude and duration, you are going to get a damage. So modeling of this wave, okay, is very very important. Understanding of this wave, how it modifies in the regions also very very important. If you have this knowledge, then you predict the earthquake, then you interlink both of them, then it is possible to get more reliable loss assessment from the earthquake. Okay. So the mechanics based earthquake predictions are very well, but if it is not very sure, you should not create a panic among the people, because it will going to create a socio-economic, social economic impact. Okay. Sometimes these impacts are very large. Okay. So I can give you the example. Okay. So this COVID-19 lockdown. So because the migration of the people who are in the different places of India not considered while issuing the lockdown. So many people are suffered without job, without food, then they started moving themselves by walking. Okay. So now what happened, all this generation will have the mindset, at any cost I should not move from my land to other places, because I may end up in similar kind of situation in the future. So this kind of the psychological problem will come. Okay, people will be hereafter will be afraid after COVID-19 lockdown at different countries. People will be afraid to go to other countries, afraid to go to travel, afraid to go to work for other places. So obviously this all will impact on the economics. Okay, so the people you may not get a proper people to do a job. Okay, you may not get a proper support for anything, as you seen that the air industry was one of the worst affected, because the tourism industry is another one worst affected. Hereafter people will be afraid to go unnecessarily travel. Okay, nobody will be willing to go here and there. As I told you that the interaction will reduce considerably, travel will reduce considerably. It will also affect the subsequent industry which is supporting. Okay, so hereafter the malls, movie theatres, and then mass gathering people will be problem. Even the marriage halls. Okay, so there is a time when January or other places, marriage hall used to charge, for one day they used to charge 10 lakh, 15 lakh rupees to conduct a marriage. So now they told that there is no more marriage with mass gathering. So all those businesses got gone. Okay, so such kind of social behavior and economical impact will create the wrong kind of things prediction. Particularly earthquake, if you predict wrongly, all this will synchronously will affect. Okay, so in order to take care that if you are only 100% sure the prediction is going to right, then issue a warning. Okay, otherwise say that this prediction, this time if you stay away, okay, at least you can save your life. Okay, such kind of things will happen. But more or less anything which is related with the plate tectonics and wave propagation based prediction will be more reliable and more authenticated. That is what I think actually. According to the subject also, if you understand the physics behind the earthquake, that is the only way it will help. So hopefully India right now we don't have any system of wave prediction of earthquake, but in future at least I hope some scientists will work towards that, where people have access to the data, control over local monitoring system, then we will be success in predicting a bigger earthquake that will reduce lot of people life. Okay, so the fatality will be reduced, economic loss will be corrected if we predict well. So we should work towards that, at least to future we can reduce this kind. So with this we will be closing our earthquake prediction subject, which we have discussed in the last 4 classes. So this is one of the very interesting and fascinated subject. Many people try to work, even a starting from school student, because the prediction of earthquake, I was telling, if somebody is 100% success in prediction earthquake, subsequently they predict, okay, so they even get a Nobel Prize. Okay, there is no a well established way of predicting the earthquake. Only it is happening sometime it is not happening because of the several associated geological scale behavior of the crust. Okay, so hopefully this will science will grow future. Even if you predicted earthquake, it does not mean that you will escape from the earthquake, okay, the damage and losses. So how do you reduce those kind of things? So the prediction is one thing, okay, but right now prediction is not possible. Okay, that 100% we are sure that earthquake cannot be predicted well. So the another way is, then how do you minimize loss due to the earthquake, damage due to the earthquake if earthquake comes. So that is that prediction of earthquake hazard parameters, or prediction of earthquake hazard. Not prediction of earthquake, is the prediction of earthquake hazard. Okay. So the prediction of earthquake hazard, okay. So prediction of earthquake hazard parameters, the ground motion parameters, time domain parameters, those kind of activities are the next very important activity to reduce the impact due to the earthquake. Okay, so that is what we are going to discuss from the next class onwards. Thank you very much for watching this video. So we will see you in the next class. Thank you.